Now, I remember seeing the MacGruber film and thought it was tremendously funny. But the show was not a mainstream success, was it?
No, it was. It did not do very well at the box office. Yeah. We were very proud of it, but it just didn't. People didn't go see it.
Yeah, but did it like in the DVD and other formats, other venues? Did it do pretty well? It's like one of those.
I don't know. You know, I hope that people will get to see it because we are fiercely proud of that movie.
Did you make any dough on the deal?
Oh no, I made like $12,000.
Now listen, this movie Nebraska.
I'm not joking. I made $12,000.
I know.
Yeah,
that's not my problem, Will. Did you have trouble getting your checks when you worked here? No. So now you're in Nebraska, and what I'm thinking is, and by the way, what a lovely piece of work this is.
Oh, thank you very much.
And you do a great job in this. So now maybe when people will see this, it will revive MacGruber.
I don't know that people will necessarily make that connection, but
I'm doing what I can here.
No, thank you very much.
I would like to see a resurrection for MacGruber.
Da, 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 da. You sound insane. You realize that? Yeah. The whole world gone crazy. Seriously? It's showtime.
That's fun. Welcome in, Ma'am Fam. Back into the Mad About Movies podcast. Kent Garrison here, your host, joined by co-hosts, as always, Richard Barton, Brian Gill.
What's up?
And this episode's 7 years in the making, or 10 years in the making, depending on your perspective, however you want to look at it. 7 years for us. Pretty much since episode 1 of this podcast, we've been talking up MacGruber and, preaching the gospel of MacGruber, if you will. And we are so pleased and happy to be joined by a creator, star of MacGruber, writer, savant of MacGruber, Will Forte, joining the Mad About Movies podcast in honor of 10 years since MacGruber. Will, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your support of MacGruber. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Of course. We've been, sadly, we've hosted MacGruber movie nights at the Alamo Draft House. We have been really pushing this for years. I mean, that was 5-6 years ago. Mm-hmm. You've been told a million times, we'll keep this from being a total love fest, but man, do we love that movie, and our listeners and fans do too. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us.
Oh my God. It is my pleasure. I appreciate you guys appreciating it.
Of course. Well, Richard kind of alluded to it. How we got started with this, Richard actually went and saw it in the theater back in 2010. And literally ever since then, every person he's met, he's pretty much had to say, have you seen MacGruber? Like that's pretty much his test for determining their level of senses of humor and things. And I was one of the people that he actually brought onto the MacGruber train. And, I've since been converting people.
Pyramid scheme, Will, really. It's like Amway, it pays its way up.
It's a gift that keeps on giving to our show.
Once you get to a certain number of throat rips, you get to escalate to the next level.
Yeah, exactly.
We get a lot of emails about people that have discovered MacGruber through the show and things like that. So, every time there's MacGruber news, our Twitter mentions go crazy. And so I think we can call ourselves the official podcast of MacGruber. Is that okay? Can you anoint us that? Is there another MacGruber cast?
I don't know of any other official.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Good. Then the back tattoos were not in vain. Thank God. So funny story I saw it in theater. It actually cost me a girlfriend. I think I took, a girlfriend he shouldn't have ended up with. So it's fine. Will's wrestling a dog, I think, or he's running away. I scared him off.
I'm back. There was this weird light on that was reflecting in the window and I couldn't truly concentrate.
No problem.
It cost girlfriend?
Well, I mean, I wanted to go with a buddy, and she was a very nice, proper girl, and she demanded that she would come. And I was like, well, I mean, I kind of knew what I was in for, and she, didn't enjoy it as much as me, and that's fine. But in the ensuing months, I kept telling Brian, who's here, you got to see this movie, And when it came out on DVD, I was in grad school for a year, and the only window I had between classes to get the DVD to bring it over to Brian's to watch was right when Best Buy opened. So I was the guy waiting outside Best Buy, really creepy. He was very confused when I ran in there, was like in a hurry to get to class. Like, hey, do you have MacGruber? I need to buy it right now, But not only did I see it in theaters, I was probably the first DVD purchase. So you can start that restraining order paperwork right up.
By the way, this person, not that I'm, you look at James Carville and Mary Madeline, certainly are divisive things that come between people.
Sure.
They can overcome them. So I think that there could be a woman out there, if you're a MacGruber fan, that a woman who does not like MacGruber and you can still be with them.
Or a better story is I found a woman who loves MacGruber and we're happily married now. So, I mean, it all worked out great.
See, that's it. That just accelerated the process.
Exactly.
So I'm happy to be the conduit to your happiness.
Thank you.
It's very possible that because of I'm your marriage.
You should, and the vows, I only mentioned that 3 or 4 times, so that's good.
Yeah.
Very happy for you. I just got engaged myself.
Congratulations, Mazel tov, my friend.
She's wonderful. She is great. I think that's always the weirdest thing is when you meet somebody. It's not even them watching MacGruber. It's when their parents.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
If you can get past that point, that's always a big deal. Her family's great, and
that's good. That's good. We've passed it on to many, but we're excited. I mean, how cool is this for you? I would imagine. I mean, not that many movies per year get the kind of 10-year treatment. You've had a bunch of stories on the web this week, and this stupid podcast, and I'm sure others. That's got to be such a gratifying feeling.
It's really nice. I mean, it's we always were proud of the movie and we loved it, but certainly it's really hard when you go through that experience of it just being a complete failure at the box office. It really causes you to question things, and at the end of it, Yorma, John, and I all decided, you know what, fuck it. Yeah, it did not do well at the box office, but we're still proud of it. So it was kind of nice when a little bit at a time you would hear that people after it had left the box office had found it, in various avenues, and it's really very nice because it I don't know. It's just we didn't care about it not making money. It was just that represented people not seeing it.
Sure.
We're like, oh, we're proud of this. We wish people would see it. So it feels like more people have seen it now, which was our ultimate goal.
And 10 years later, the box office is out of business, and you're on the Mad About Movies podcast. So it looks like you long game, dude. So you really showed them.
Exactly. Speaking of that, we've always said on the show, since the beginning, as soon as this thing hits Netflix, it's going to blow up. Everyone's going to be like, "Oh my God, why didn't I see this back when it was in the theater?" What's the story there? Why hasn't it really ever gone to streaming services? Has Universal held on to it that long? They're waiting for Peacock. What's the background on why it hasn't hit the Netflix or anything like that?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't search for it to watch it because I've seen it so many times, and every once in a while it'll
doesn't stop me.
I was kind of surprised. I just felt like with pretty much, I thought the deal was, you can pretty much find every movie on streaming services, but definitely, you can't find MacGruber sometimes. Although last night somebody did bring it up. We looked, and I saw it on Amazon Prime, and I saw it on Hulu. But yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I don't know who makes that decision. I do know that there was one of the people who produced it. One of the companies went bankrupt, I think. So.
Okay. So with the kind of the aforementioned Peacock show, is that kind of ready to go into production? Is COVID kind of slowed that down, or is that still? Do you guys not really have a time frame on that because of everything?
Well, we don't even have the official green light yet.
Gotcha.
It's always been looking good, but we're waiting just to to get an official green light. And then I was kind of scared because it seemed like with what happened with COVID, it just everything became in the air, and just who knows what is with anything. So, but it seems like that's not really going to affect it one way or the other, at least as of now. So we're still waiting and hearing, potentially positive things on the horizon, but until it's official,
Gotcha.
I always know just to be a little reserved and not.
Yeah.
I don't want to celebrate early. So, but I think it's going to happen. In fact, I was just on with John and Yorma. We are doing rewrites on everything because we made our way through all 8 episodes, and now we're going back through to take some of the things that we laced into the last couple episodes and plug them into the beginning too. So I think you guys will enjoy it. We're happy with how it's turned out, and it's basically the exact tone of the movie. Everything just happens 7 years after the end of the movie.
Okay, well, that's awesome. That's great. That's great to hear. We've been pushing for MacGruber in space for years, but I think Tom Cruise is shooting his next movie in space, so that kind of takes the thunder out of that.
Maybe that paves the way, though.
Yeah, that's true for the third. Yeah.
Is he actually shooting it in space, or is
that's the rumor that it's a space themed film? No one really knows for sure yet, but that will be the first film with space, with production in some sort of sphere of the planet. And of course it's him.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I heard, who the heck was it? I forget, but somebody who worked on the last Mission Impossible movie, which to me, I thought, I love all the Mission Impossibles, but that last one, and all the helicopter stuff, which is so crazy. I always know that he does everything that he can in those movies, but this person said that he actually is the one flying the helicopters.
Yeah.
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 Oh man, it's amazing.
He's next level. Speaking of kind of action movies, random question pertaining to MacGruber. Are you a Fast and Furious fan by chance?
I bet I would be. I just haven't.
Okay. No pressure, but if you ever make your way to Fast 8, there is a dynamic between The Rock and Clint Eastwood's son, that is almost a shot-for-shot remake of you and Piper, where he's kind of it's almost like they're doing a bit. I would love to know if they were a fan. It's eerily similar with like the rookie stuff.
I'm writing this down. I want to see it.
Yeah.
We've been saying for years on the show that they just need to add MacGruber to Fast.
Yeah.
It needs to be Vin Diesel, The Rock, Jason Statham, and MacGruber.
Yeah, not Will Forte.
Yeah,
you do it as like an Andy Kaufman.
You're cast as MacGruber on the poster. It's not like Will Forte.
Well, I mean, look, the me and Piper stuff was, we were just playing off all the old tropes. Somebody was asking the other day about, I think it was more about the face-to-face confrontations with Kunch, whether that was playing off of the Top Gun stuff, and I mean, yes, to a degree it is, but that that it's just like there are so many wonderful movies with those shots of the real tense face-to-face confrontations.
And the ponytail and kind of mullet that you're both rocking helps with when you do the shoulder swag, the way they sort of sway is really magnificent.
Yes. Oh my God. I just watched, I forget when the last time was, but it reminded me, brought up the ponytail. I just love that part toward the end of the movie when they chop off the back of my mullet. And then Val holds it up. He's like, oh, I'm MacGruber, and he's holding up the hair back, and it just looks exactly his dumb little ponytail.
Yeah.
I love that.
Kilmer is the best. Ken had a Kilmer question, I think, for you.
What's that?
Yeah. We were recording a commentary track for our patrons the other night, watching it, and who owns the painting that he paints of the naked old woman? Does somebody have that? Does Val have that in his house or something? Because I know he paints like Or the one where he shoots the guy and the blood goes and he puts it in the foyer or whatever. Those gotta exist somewhere, right?
I would assume so. I don't have them. I don't know if John or Yorma do. I don't think Val does. The stuff that I have a one outfit. They have a bunch of different of your outfits, 4 versions of the same outfit. They gave me one of them and the wig, or one of the wigs.
Did you bury it in Pueblo, Colorado, in case you need it ever? Like you can.
It's in an undisclosed location.
Yeah, good.
In Pueblo, Colorado. I have the KFBR 392 notebook.
Nice.
I have the Miata. Those are the
Yeah.
book and the Miata are the big ones.
We all have a friend who's also a fan that has a MacGruber UTEP jersey he had commissioned, which I think you need too. We might send that to you.
Oh my God.
Speaking of the Miata, what was the decision? Was it a conscious one to have the luggage rack on the Miata? Because that cracks me up every single time that he can strap some luggage onto there if he ever needs to go on a long trip.
Whoever got the car, that was the only one they could find. Because we did not say it's got to have a luggage rack. Did they not all come with luggage racks?
I've never seen one with a luggage. Like literally, I'm looking at one out my window. My neighbor has one, and it doesn't have a luggage rack. So that always just cracked me up that it would be such a MacGruber thing to in case you need luggage.
I had a girlfriend in college who had a red Miata. So actually, I think it was a red Miata. She definitely had a Miata. So that was I think why I must have pitched the Miata being his car, just because it was, I don't know.
Yeah.
You and Yorma and John did such a great job. Like the writing is so specific, obviously, and that's a real testament to you guys. But I think you must have had a great crew on this, right? Because all the little kind of like background decisions and things like that, you were probably very involved with that. But things like, a luggage rack on a Miata and things are so funny in this the more you watch it.
Everybody in the crew, it was such a wonderful group of people. And in fact, that was why right after the movie bombed, we didn't care. We were just like, we gotta do something else with MacGruber because it was just such a wonderful group of people. But definitely Yorma and John, the three of us together would really police all that stuff. And then there were just a million other awesome people working on the movie who everyone just shared a pretty common mindset and loved those old dumb 80s action movies. Gloriously dumb.
Yeah, no, incredible.
Some just glorious.
Yeah, I mean, dumb is a spectrum, man. I don't know what that means, but that's my other back tattoo. So,
but yeah, it was. I mean, most of that stuff was, we would think out in a major way. And Brandon Trost, the guy who was our DP, was amazing too.
Oh, that's what, Kent and I used to do a thing that's very stupid. We went to high school together, actually, and we were in a parody boy band. And we always had this, and MacGruber really encapsulates this, where they asked us to do this parody boy band for like a pep rally or something. We were like, this is funny if we're bad, but it's 30 times funnier if we're good. So let's rehearse for like 30 days and really get this dance down because that's funnier, right? And MacGruber is great for the same reason, right? Like if you're making a silly schlocky action parody, it's fun, it's still hilarious. But the thing that takes it to the next level, in my opinion, is like it's actually a pretty effective action film, especially for the budget you guys had. Just makes the comedy land so much higher, and it's a testament to all you guys.
Oh man, well, thank you very much for saying that. That's a good point because I can't put my finger on it, but I think that's a good point. Like we did want the action scenes to seem legit. So certainly. There were budgetary constraints.
Sure,
we would have wanted to inject even more action in there, but I think a lot of the budgetary constraints made us make decisions that led to scenes that were maybe even better than the ones that we would have done had we not had budgetary constraints. Like, for instance, there was the the scene that was when we get to the control room at the end with at Kunt's compound,
Mm-hmm.
and I rip out that guy's throat, and then call over the loudspeaker for everybody to. We're in the control room, and they all come racing, and then they trigger the.
It's Brian's favorite joke in the movie right here. Is "You're all wet."
You're all wet, and I'll be at the Pentagon. Kill me every single time. And with the handwriting and the misspellings and stuff. I just think it's maybe the height of comedy. It kills me.
You're all wet. That sequence would not have existed if we didn't have budgetary constraints, because it was a much bigger action scene. It was probably just all action, that part of it, and instead it still has some action to it, but that dumb payoff of the "you're all wet" seemed just kind of perfectly MacGruber-y, and so we were blessed to have them shut us down, and in a way that if we get this Peacock series going and get to do it, I'm sure that some of the stuff that we'll be griping about in the beginning, when we hear that we can't do it for financial reasons,
Sure,
it's going to make it better, and we'll find some dumb cheap replacement.
That's great. When you guys go to Peacock and become the flagship of that network, which I have full faith that you will, all I ask is that you demand a John Bovey biopic next. That's my other favorite. Love John Bovey.
I love doing John Bovey so much. It's so great because I have the easiest part in the world. I just sit there with that huge mustache and smile and nod my head, and Sudeikis does most of the talking. And then I love singing with that guy. That's what we do. We do when we are with each other. 50% of the time we're in a karaoke booth.
That's all. Yeah, that's a total aside, but I love that thing so much. Brian, you had a couple pretty cool questions here. I feel like I'm Bogarting here, so you guys throw some stuff at will.
You're the patron saint of MacGruber, so I feel like it's okay for you to dominate. It's good. We talk all the time. I think one of the hallmarks of like a really funny script, a funny movie, is when the vocabulary of that movie kind of works its way into other people's vocabulary and stuff, fans of the movie and whatnot. So like we joke around with each other all the time about what we will say at each other's eulogies, at funerals and stuff, if we have to. That's all based on MacGruber and I don't think I said this on our commentary. I don't think I've ever been to one of these two guys' houses without coming out of the bathroom and saying, MacGruber, your bathroom is disgusting. It's become part of the lexicon of our relationships, I think.
And not just ours. We have a Discord of a bunch of listeners of our show, and I'm telling you, there is a MacGruber, and it's like the "shut your butt" gif is a daily, always on there.
Yeah. So I wondered if there's a particular joke or bit or whatever from the movie that still delights you and that's a favorite of yours, I guess.
You bring up "shut your butt"? Is "shut your butt" is that something that everybody said as a kid, or just me and my sister? It is, right? I thought growing up, I discovered the term "a-hole." So I don't know, like "shut your butt." I was, everybody must have said that, right? But "shut your butt," that's a pretty.
I don't know that I'd ever heard "shut your butt." I certainly hadn't heard it in that with the tone and the mannerism. "Shut your butt." I mean, that tells it. Even if I had heard that, I certainly think of, if someone says "shut your butt," I will forever think of MacGruber. And
you own that now.
If there were any other memories of it, it's out the door now. So
my sister and I, growing up, our constant refrain it was. Whoever, one of us would say "shut your butt," and the other would say, "I can't. It has a permanent hole." that was "shut your butt." So we didn't. I was trying to get "I can't. It has a permanent hole" in there, but
you got "I like holes." So
sorry, I derailed you.
You're good. I just wondered if there's a bit or a line, something particular from that still sticks out to you as like a personal favorite.
I think one of my favorite jokes, and this was our buddy Chris McKenna. We're pretty happy with the script, and then we sent it to a bunch of our super funny friends, and then they gave us a bunch of fun little extra jokes. And one of my favorites is one that came from that round, which was the if if we're ripping throats,
Oh yeah.
save lives, then I'll suck as many rip as whatever that line is. That was a Chris McKenna special, and that's what usually jumps to mind. But I mean, we had so much fun doing this.
You know who's Ken? You haven't. I feel like I'm cutting you off. You go ahead. I know you got something.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sure it's on the same topic.
You know who's great in this, and I've read obviously all these things coming about the movie, and I would love to hear your thoughts. And all the kind of wrestler guys are hilarious in their kind of parts, but man, Chris Jericho is legitimately a funny comedy actor. It's surprising he didn't have more of a crossover career.
What's really funny? We did his podcast yesterday.
Oh wow, I'll have to listen.
We were talking to him, and that exactly was something that came up, and we didn't do a lot of improv in this movie because we really worked out the dialogue just to exactly how we wanted it, and for some reason in that scene, most of the stuff was written, but then at the very end, we just did a couple takes where we just kept going.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff at the very end was stuff that was just from an improv. I think some of the funniest things in that scene were his improvs. Like it was, that's why I say them. That's why I listen. I listen with just him bullshitting around. It was so funny. But yeah, he's great.
Yeah, I always say, I'm never really, these guys like Cena or The Rock that like break through and become huge stars. I can't imagine really like better training like for improv and stuff than like having to kind of pull a show out of your butt every day in front of an arena full of people. Like those guys are studs.
Fucking amazing what they do. We got to, as part of the promo for MacGruber, we got to be part of one of their Raws, and so we're in there, and I was so used to having stuff on cue cards. It had been so long since I had to memorize something or remember what the hell I was going to say, and so they have these storylines, and you hear what you're supposed to say, but you're supposed to do it out in this ring in front of however many 30,000 people, and with these gigantic people picking you up, and it was terrifying, both mentally and physically. But yeah, I have so much respect for those guys. They're really nice guys too.
Yeah.
All of them were just incredibly sweet.
In Kent's other life, he works in sports production, and one time he took me to a wrestling event, and I hadn't really watched it since I was a kid, and my wife and I went with him, and Kent was like, watch how detailed this production is, like for a live show. I mean, Kent can speak to it better than me, but then the fact that they pick that up, throw it in a truck, and do it again 2 nights later is insane to me. I don't know how they do that.
It's crazy. Wait, did they get started up again? Or are they?
I think they're Sands fans.
They've been doing it no fans in Florida, which is even more impressive to do that with no audience at all.
Essential, yeah.
I'm sure that's pretty difficult.
There are gators in the crowd, but other than that,
I wanted to ask you a little bit about the writing process, as you had mentioned how fun it was to write this film with Jorma and John. Did you go back and purposely watch a ton of movies and say, "Oh, let's parody this, or was it y'all sitting in a room and just kind of stream of consciousness writing things that you had remembered? How easy was it for you to write this movie? Because it seems really natural and like all the bits kind of came to life in the moment.
Well, I would say for most of that, it was a very fun writing process. We all three of us grew up on those wonderful 80s action movies, so we had such a love for them, and already had a somewhat encyclopedic knowledge of them. So I think most of the time we wouldn't go back and watch them. I think the thing that would happen is we would be building off of our memories, our imperfect memories of what they were, which I think helped anyway. Mm-hmm. So then sometimes it wouldn't get too close to parodying any specific move. It would just be more kind of a general takeoff point from it. go to whatever we did. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Of course.
And I think you really hit at a key time too, where like those movies now are almost, and in a good way, almost self-parodying in a way. Like they're so in on the joke, right? And they kind of do it. It would be hard to do that with modern action movies because they kind of play into the tropes, whereas you guys kind of got in right before that.
Yeah, it's like, but I think even back in the day, some of those
True
are such wonderful comedic lines. It would be anytime that like an I'll be back type thing.
Sure.
Would part of it would be stirring this ooh, and then the other part would be like laughter. But it's like an inspired laughter, like, oh, he's gonna go freaking.
It's also that funny thing that always happens where everything that's super macho 20 years later is immediately homoerotic. And so like it happens all the time. And so that is like a formula of time always.
Yes. No, definitely. And that definitely, like, I mean, all that stuff.
You're watching Top Gun in 83 or whatever. You're like, man, these guys are so jacked and oiled up and playing volleyball. This is so rad. And then 20 years later, you're like, what's going on at this volleyball pit?
Thing I always think about when I think about that volleyball scene is just that he's late for his date with this woman he really wants to impress. And then he's so late that he just goes straight from his sweaty volleyball game, puts on a t-shirt, right? He doesn't shower.
Right. He showers at her house. He goes to her house and immediately walks in. He's like, I need a shower. It's like, oh, okay. Well, yeah.
Does that happen? Oh,
yeah. It's incredible.
Forgot about that.
That's the other way I've lost girlfriends. Is that move.
Right.
I always just assumed that's what you did.
Yeah. While Kenny Loggins plays in the back.
Always.
I wanted to ask a little bit about Ryan Phillippe in the movie. Something that stuck out to me on this last rewatch was this guy does not crack a smile or break the entire time. How did he keep from breaking when you're doing this ridiculous MacGruber stuff, when it's just you and him on screen? His ability to keep a straight face is actually really impressive.
He is so unflappable. He's that guy. He did such an amazing job because me and Wig are such boobs. We just are these crazy characters. So he has that tough job of trying to make us seem somewhat believable. So the way he plays it is just perfect because the whole thing is not going to work without his character. So it's like we were so impressed with him, and we're super excited that that he this series gets going. That he's going to be a part of it too. Great.
I wanted to mention Kristen. You mentioned her. Speaking of breaking, she. We got to mention the sex scene. Great. We've said on the show, greatest sex scene in the history of cinema.
Scenes. Don't leave out the plural.
Scenes. In the history of cinema. When you're doing your whole thing, and she's trying to turn away. Was she breaking there and trying not to show to the camera? Is laughing, or what was that about?
Some of them that might have been the case, but also she was trying to dart from various sweat pelting, and a lot of like hairs were flying all over. Dude, it was so gross because it's super hot in New Mexico, and we're up in this attic. There are a bunch of lights up there, and you can't have fans on while you're filming to be crystal clear. So I'm a sweater. I sweat I'm not going to sweat if I'm like sitting still, but the moment I start moving at all, I start sweating, and there's a lot of movement in that scene. And it was her birthday too, so she just
how nice of you.
Giving her a sweat birthday gift.
One of our favorite things also about showing people the movie is seeing their face for the first time when that scene comes on, because you know what to expect already, but seeing their reaction to it is as funny as the scene itself. Seeing people react to the scene, that's been one of our favorite things. And then when he has to go really quick. That's one of the funny things where he's just like, oh, gotta go. and he immediately leaves and goes to the graveyard, and it all happens again. It's just, it's got to be the best couple minutes in comedy history.
That's one of my favorite stretches of the movie. So fun to watch that. It just so stupid. But both Kristen and Maya were. It was such a bummer for both of them. Kristen, it was her birthday and all that's happening. Maya was like 8 months pregnant, and she's oh man, what a trooper to sit out there, and already she's on this in this very uncomfortable position for anybody, but being 8 months pregnant, it's just exponentially worse. So we would do those scenes, and then for the wide shots, we had a body double just so she wouldn't have to, be in that uncomfortable position all the time. But that's also kind of weird to be, thrusting your parts into some person you don't know. It was a wonderful sport, and I hope she got hazard pay.
The great, whoever's comedic decision it was, maybe Yorma's, to get that shot of you when it's from the like janitor's point of view and there's no ghost there and it's just you standing over a grave thrusting that might be my favorite bit.
Oh yeah, that and then Trost, the DP, that's his dad who plays the janitor.
Oh, that's awesome.
A little story about that is there was throughout the night, because that was a night shoot, so we probably started at 10 o'clock at night or 8 o'clock at night and go till 8 in the morning, and we were in this weird park that we had set up to look like a cemetery, and we just heard this person barfing. And we're like, oh, somebody got too drunk and is passed out somewhere. This is, maybe a homeless person or something. We felt really bad because you just kept hearing this awful retching. And then we heard that it was Ron, his dad, who had gotten like food poisoning. But trooper, he stayed on the job, and he also had to play this part. So that the look of disgust on his face. And that he was about to barf anyway.
Man, Daniel Day-Lewis. I mean, he went full in.
Yes, definitely. We had definitely planned on that shot from the get-go. We wrote that in.
I have a lot of family in Montana, and I go up there in the summer to the lake and stuff, and it's a great time. And as I always tell people, Montana is Canada's Florida. They all come down there to party at the lake. So I know a ton of Canadians, and so I've had my fair share of Molsons around the lake because they bring it down because they can't be bothered with our swill American beer. And I wanted to know the story behind all the Molsons in the movie because it always makes me laugh.
Yorma, that's a Yorma thing. And we're all for it. Like we all have our own individual additions. I mean, a lot of them are things that the three of us come up with together. But for sure, that is definitely a Yorma special.
The movie's obviously directed really well. Like, that's what we were talking about earlier. That's part of what makes it so funny, is that it's so well done. How involved were you in the edit process? Because some of the stuff that makes me laugh is like when the music will just randomly cut off in the middle of a cue, or when the sex scene goes from like the sex scene until it's just like reality. Was that kind of stuff in the script, or is that stuff that organically came up in the edit? When you get out of the car and the music cuts off, that's actually the music and the soundtrack, things like that. How involved was that in the kind of initial planning of the movie, or did it come alive more in the edit?
I would say that most of that stuff was probably planned. I mean, there certainly were parts that were that we figured out later, but definitely, like, say the cut from that awesome Black Keys song, and then when it cuts to Rosanna, that was definitely in the script, and different things like that. We really did a lot of planning beforehand. Yorma did an amazing job. I mean, he's awesome, but so we really planned for, we wrote all three of us together for a long time, and then Yorma went to start doing pre-production. John and I did a lot of the rewriting stuff while he was gone, and we would talk to him on the phone sometimes, but we'd be doing that while he was doing pre-production, and so it was a real team effort. He then when it came time to shoot it, like John's an amazing director too, John Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically Jorma directing with John being this awesome source of knowledge for him if he needed it, and they'd collaborate together. But Jorma just was so on it, knew exactly what he wanted. And then the three of us really, Jorma went in and did a first cut, and then we all went through the edit together for a long time. So it was a real team thing, pretty much all the way through. But
we're all movie nerds. I just want to give you credit for this. That we're all movie nerds on this show. That's the whole point of this show, is we like to kind of talk pop culture and movies and stuff. And Kent there is a accomplished director. He's made a bunch of documentaries on a different Dallas Cowboys figures. He's too modest to say it, but those are some of his movies he's made for the Cowboys in the background and all that. But some Barry Switzer content for you. Yeah. But the just total production on this is what takes us to the next level. And we just, that's like the thing I saw Kent when he saw this movie for the first time, like light up on how well made this is. And that's a credit to all you guys.
That like a lot of the aesthetic stuff, Jorma and Brandon together really did such an amazing job. That he made the look of it. It was a $10 million budget or something like that, and it looked so much more expensive than that. They did all the stuff. Like, I would never know the detail-y stuff of wetting down the streets.
Yeah,
we had so little time to make this movie, and a third of it was spent waiting to wet down.
Also, the runtime in the movie is what all comedy should be. I want to give you that compliment too. The 90-minute runtime, man, you guys nailed that.
Yeah, it's so weird. You just figure out, it just makes sense when you watch it, and there's certain things that you lose that you don't want to lose, but it's always a little bit better when you cut it down. And then it's so funny because there's the unrated version or whatever that's hour, and it's like an extra 5 minutes or something. And to me, it's like, don't just watch the original version, because the unrated version is just filled with a bunch of stuff that we decided to cut out.
Yeah,
we don't want their alternate takes. Like, that's our second choice.
You do have the line in the alternate that Brian especially loves, where you go, "I don't want to cheapen it, but we totally rammed." That should have made. I have to say, that should have made the original cut, I think.
But if we totally rammed, God, I can't remember.
When you're explaining the sex that you and Vicky had made love, and you go, "I don't want to cheapen it, but we totally rammed." That's brilliant.
Propose to Vicky?
Yeah, you're on the mission. You're on the mission with Piper, and it's just like a weird throwaway. You're about to go up a ladder or something, and you're describing your sex with Vicky, and you go, and then I don't want to cheapen it, but then we totally rammed, and that kills me. That you think that's the polite way to put it.
Okay.
A little more about the character of MacGruber. Obviously this started, we read in the Ringer piece that this started as an idea from Jorma to do this MacGyver parody. Yep. And the comedy of that was you've got all these random objects and you blow up at the end. And that's kind of was the main pitch behind it, right? Yep. When did the character sort of gain the personality of MacGruber? Because we've said multiple times on our podcast that every little twitch that you have, you are MacGruber in the movie. It's like you snap your fingers and you become the personality in the way you walk, the way your head turns. It's an incredible transformation. But like, when did the personality of the character really develop? Because it feels like the movie was really the first time we actually got to see MacGruber being MacGruber, full on.
That's a good question, because I don't know. I mean, I if I think back to the early versions of the sketch, I know it was just trying to, I guess, be I don't know. I don't know that the real that narcissistic I don't know was there in the very beginning. I think that kind of came something over the second or third iterations of the sketch. I think that was...
Well, we're huge basketball nerds, so I would just credit that to Charles Barkley, that he gave you great notes.
He's the best. But definitely there was... I don't know that we ever had a real... The thing was like, I think a lot of the elements of the MacGruber personality were there in the sketch, but then it was once we turned him into like a, the action hero, real like courageous, macho man, trying to deliver the lines, the I'll be back style lines. We had a bunch of runs in the early going where it was trying to, instead of delivering a line like, Hosbender, dead at the age of who the fuck cares? Instead of that, it would be like trying to think of a line and not coming up with one.
Yeah.
Somebody saying what? And it's like, hey, hang on. It's like, think of these. And it's like, I know, I'm almost, just give me one more sec. And we found that it just wasn't as fun as actually doing a dumb version of one of those lines. So even if it was just like, fuck you, dude, that was more fun than just doing a bad job of it. I mean, it's a different style of bad job, but yeah.
Talk to us about the scene where you blow up all the WWE guys, because we said on our commentary, that's when you know that this movie is different. It's like, oh man, this is, because you think it's just this parody. Oh, I'm putting together a team. I've got all these macho guys. Now it's just going to be a regular parody. Then when you blow them all up, the entire movie takes a shift towards you, being such an incompetent person and all that. Was that like the main idea for the movie? Was it let's make people think it's a typical team up movie and then you blow everything up and everything goes awry? Or was that just like a random idea that was kind of thrown in there as well?
It definitely was something that once we came up with the idea, we realized, oh, this is a great way to end the first act. And then you shoot into the second act, just having Piper, Vicky, and MacGruber being the team. So it's. I think we knew we wanted to do blowing up the members, but we didn't know exactly how it fit in for a while. And then now it's, once we figured out, oh, that's where you do this. It's like, oh shit, it seems like that.
Yeah.
But it's, it's amazing how the process works, and it just takes a while it's a lot of experimenting with different scenes here and there, and then you finally it could even be just a bunch of scenes that you have in that don't even ultimately make the movie, but somehow lead to the one idea that then becomes, like the thing where you end your first act on.
Yeah.
So long ago, I don't remember. I was all when we were writing the movie, we were not only still going through the SNL season, but I was going through a breakup at the time, and it was just tough.
But now you get to talk about it 10 years later. You have a dog and a fiance. So I mean, again, eat it, box office. 2 dogs? What?
We'll get you out of here on this, Will. We really appreciate you coming on and talking to us. This has been great.
I apologize. I feel like I'm my brain is a little mushy. I quit nicotine gum a while ago. Today would be a good day to have it. It gives you a little clarity. Anti-nicotine ads on TV. I don't want to push against those.
Oh man, they've really upped the game on anti-nicotine ads. It's they're really speaking to the kids with the vaping.
That would be a funny bit to have MacGruber just do a Chantix ad. And
great
it's never, just like Leota, but it's never mentioned, or it's just you in the thing, and it's never mentioned that it's MacGruber, and it's just, you don't say anything. It's just like you in the bathtub on a hill or whatever. And
I haven't the Leota Chantix.
Oh, it's good.
I see the one with the weird turkey.
Oh yeah. That one's weird too.
I think they pulled the Leota ad because it was It was pretty creepy.
Yeah, the Leota one. He's really full method, like straight up. Yeah.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch that again.
YouTube it. It's great.
We're going to get you out of here on this. We always talk about on the show, people email us ideas for, MacGruber-related properties, right? Maybe sequels, maybe episodes of the TV show, prequels, whatever. So I wanted to run some of these by you. We already mentioned joining Fast. What about MacGruber joining the Expendables, where it's like Stallone, Schwarzenegger, MacGruber?
I tell you, like that is, it's really funny because before the Expendables came out, I had an idea that was kind of like the well, it was the Expendables. It wasn't anything I ever wrote up. Like nobody ever stole the idea from me.
Sure.
Something that other people had as well, but it was, so yes, I mean, for sure. I love it. I love it. I don't know if they would ever take us. MacGyver. Have MacGyver and
Oh, there you go.
There you go. What about a prequel series where we actually see your multiple tours in Angola and you winning all the Purple Hearts and stuff like that, but you're the same age you are now. It's not like they de-age you. You're just constantly the same MacGruber through it all.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, the new stuff coming out, if it is to come out,
Sure.
crossed,
We're all knocking on all available wood.
Mm-hmm.
there is definitely, you will learn a little bit more about MacGruber's past.
Oh, man.
For sure. It certainly wouldn't take away from, like, you could definitely do a prequel still. Like, it's not going to, there's still chunks that are unexplored of his life. Basically, yeah, we should shoot the early stuff later. It'll be like a Benjamin Button.
Yeah. That or just, get that. I think The Irishman was pretty cheap, all that de-aging. I heard it was only like $200 million. You guys can get that. If you get Peacock's got money they're throwing around.
That stuff is so interesting.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy, right?
Couple more here. How about U57 KFBR 392, where it's you on a submarine? It's MacGruber doing one of those old 90s submarine movies.
I love that. Start writing these up.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, you're free to use these. Yeah, we won't charge you.
Submarine is, I watched Hunt for Red October the other night. That would be a great MacGruber.
Do you know what? I have never seen Hunt for Red October. And a movie that I have on my computer.
Oh.
And I've had it on there for probably 10 years. It couldn't be 10 years. I haven't had this computer. But 5 years. And I'm definitely going to watch that. But yeah, MacGruber in a submarine, it sounds fantastic. It seems like an element that would be awesome. I don't know that we would do a full movie or something.
Could be a bottle episode.
Just claustrophobic. Wait, did they do in Hunt for Red October?
Mm-hmm.
Were they sub the entire time?
No, but the full second act. Once Baldwin gets on the sub, and how they get him on there is a little nebulous. But it was the '80s. It was a whole different time.
Wait, how is Das Boot? Das Boot.
Das Boot. There was a lot of Under Siege. There was Down Periscope, like a lot of submarine related.
Yeah.
Crimson Tide, a lot of submarine content coming out in those years for some reason.
I think someone built a really kick-ass submarine set and was selling it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was Ed Harris.
Renting it out.
Yeah.
The last idea I have for you is maybe like a kind of an Eddie Murphy thing. You've seen Batman v Superman, right? So how about MacGruber v the Falconer, and you're playing both parts?
Oh wow.
Who wins?
Yeah, who wins?
I think the Falcon.
Yeah, the Falcon wins. It's correct.
Yeah, I mean that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good. It's so funny because we've kind of against all odds had the opportunity to do this as a sketch and then a movie. Knock wood that we'll get to do the TV series.
So you're saying Broadway?
Talked before, or I don't know if John and Yormer into this, but I thought it would be so fun to then at some point do an animated version of it, and then go from that to a sitcom version of it.
The other one you can do,
MacGruber on Ice.
Yeah, MacGruber on Ice. You get a touring company on ice.
You go for the EGOT, but only MacGruber related.
Yeah, MacGruber EGOT.
Do you guys watch Beef House?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, Tim Heidecker. That's a great. You need to make an appearance on that. Yeah.
I love those guys so much. But I for some reason had not seen it, and then I tore through it the other day. It's so funny.
Yeah, it's the perfect parody for sitcoms. That is definitely right. Well, Will, thank you so much for being here. Round of applause for Mr. Will Forte.
Can't thank you enough for your support of MacGruber. I said it in the beginning, but I want to say it again. That please would love to come back on, because I feel like we should get John and Yorma on here too.
Would love to have him.
And if Ryan, just get whoever we can. I feel bad. I've been just running around doing too much stuff. Or I would have, but I could next time. We can wrangle up a whole group, so you don't just have.
Well, yeah,
not interested. No, thank you. Hard pass. But no, it's cool.
Get the guys to pick our brains about U57 KFBR3.
Yeah.
The prequel series in Granada. That's That really.
You could get Hader's puppet character guy as part of the crew that went to Granada. I mean, there's a lot of options there.
Exactly. Well, maybe we'll have you on again whenever the show comes out.
I would love to. Anytime.
Promote it.
Hopefully we'll hear something soon, and we would love to talk about it if you'd like.
We'd love to have you.
Well, we thought we'd catch you during the quarantine because we know you're super busy and you'll be working again very soon, hopefully. Thank you so much again, Will. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening. You can find us at madaboutmoviespodcast.com. Please subscribe, leave us 5 stars, and see us on social media at Mad About Movies. We'll see you at the cinema soon. Goodbye.